I decided that I need to do a sort of video message thing of my own, because I understand that there are lots of asexuals that do YouTube channels and that, people listen to and, watch. But, a lot of them don't really talk about their own personal experiences, at least not that I've seen. Maybe I haven't watched enough of them. But, a little bit about myself. You can call me Glow. GLO. No need for the W or the 0. That's just part of my screen name. I was born and raised in the southern United States, so pardon my accent. I know sometimes it's a little worse than others. I'm an artist. I'm currently enrolled at a university, and I'm a public history major with a minor in painting and drawing. I am 19 years old, and I am no weirder than anybody else is weird. I know that when I started telling people I was asexual, that was a comment that was made a lot. Well, there's other things wrong with you, so that probably explains it, and that's just not true. I'm a little socially awkward, and that's just because I've never really been exposed to big crowds. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, and our closest neighbor was 3 miles down the road. I'm a little OCD, but that's just, cleanliness is very important to me. Like there's dust on my windowsill, and you're going to catch me looking at it the entire video, and I'm going to clean it when I'm done. Yeah, and I've noticed that when you tell people you're asexual, the first thing that they seem to say is, they assume that you're not telling the truth, or that you don't know enough to be telling the truth. And they try to discredit your feelings, and that's just, it's unnecessary. It really is, because differences in sexuality are the hardest way to be different that there are. And when people try to tell you that part of your personality that you may be just discovering, or you may be just now accepting, that, and people tell you that that's wrong, or that you're wrong, and that, they try to make it sound like you can't trust your own feelings, and, it's cruel. Really, because I know for me, accepting my sexuality was an arduous journey. It was not easy. When I first realized I was asexual, when I looked it up on Google and I found Avon, and I read all the articles, and I read, the forums, and, talked to other people about being asexual, and, what exactly it entailed, how you felt. And I talked to other people, and, they were feeling, they all acknowledged their asexuality, and they had many of the same thoughts that I did. And it didn't dawn on me, but I realized that I was asexual. I just started crying. And because I remember thinking, that this isn't fair. That's not fair. I was angry. I was very angry, and, when people tell their coming out stories, most of the time they're happy, they're like, oh, even though such and such didn't accept it, I'm okay with that. And I don't see the need to sugarcoat it. I was not okay with it. I was not happy. I was angry, and it's taken me a very long time to completely accept it, and, I immediately did start telling people, as soon as I was done crying, and I thought about it for a little while, and I did a little bit of writing, and, my dog is chewing on something. What are you doing? Come here. This is Beatrice. it took a little while, but once I realized, this is a part of my personality that was cloudy and undefined and dark, and now it makes sense, and that felt better. That made it feel a lot better. Because I've always been a very self-aware person. I've always known who I was and how I felt about things, so having that part of my personality finally filled in felt really good once I got over the initial shock. And I immediately started telling people, and pretty much everyone had questions. The people that really knew me, people that were actually a part of my life, they accepted it. Then when I tell, or when the topic comes up in a college class and me and my big mouth have to have input and say, oh, I'm asexual. And then's when you get weird looks and people try to pretty much insult you. And yeah, it was hard. It was really hard. And I still have trouble to this day. When people try to tell me that I'm wrong, I get upset. When people try to tell me I'm just confused or a late bloomer or I just haven't met the right person or something like that, something along those lines, I still get upset and it still hurts. Because those people are basically just trying to tell me, and to tell any asexual for that matter, that we can't trust ourselves because our own feelings are obviously wrong. Because most people don't even know that asexuality exists. Especially not here where I'm from, a very small town in the South. And statistics say 1 in every 100 people are asexual. And here it's probably, the dispersion is probably greater because it's such a small town. I know that everyone that I have come out to has told me that they didn't even know that it existed, that it was possible for human beings to be asexual. So I thought that it probably would be important because most of the people that do videos and stuff are, they come from a different background. And I think that my personal background might help other people. The reason that I've decided that I want to do these videos is because visibility and awareness are very, very important to me, because had it not been for the internet, I would have never discovered asexuality and I would have always been in the very dark, depressed part of me that I was before I figured it out. Because at the time, I thought, maybe the more sex I have, the more it will make sense to me. And so I'm sure if you can put 2 and 2 together, you realize that was a very self-destructive path I was on when I found out I was asexual. I'm not a very shy person, per se. I'm not afraid to talk to people. So I like talking about it, and I'm very open about it, and I like to tell people, I like to explain, I like to answer questions and stuff like that. But it does meet criticisms, and so I guess the whole point of my series is, it's going to be, the title is Words from a Proud Asexual, and I want other people to watch it. I want other people to know. Because maybe there's someone out there that felt like I did, that doesn't understand why sex doesn't feel good, or doesn't understand why it isn't enjoyable, or doesn't understand why they've never wanted it, never had an urge. Because I know that personally, I thought that it was because there was something wrong with me, that I was missing something that everyone else had, or something. And Avon saved my life, because yesterday marked 6 months as an open asexual, and I think that had I not found it, I would probably by now be in a very much, much worse place, and in another 6 months on the verge of death, because I was in a very, very dark dark place. I was into a lot of drugs, anything to make the emptiness go away. So I want my story to be told, and I want people to watch my series and tell others that there are people like us out there. If you come across this video by accident and you watch the whole thing, kudos. But tell people. And if you're part of the LGBTQ, awareness movement, the next time you have an event or something like that, do something for the asexual community. Put a representative out there, because we want the same things. We understand that the LGBTQ thing, their rights are infringed on sometimes, right to get married and things like that, and I know that we don't have to face that problem, but being something other than heterosexual is enough to unite us. I've been to several pride things at my college, and and I openly support everything it is that the movements stand for. So, like I said, put a representative for the asexual community out there, even if it's just the one. Because I think that 1 in every 100 would be bigger if more people knew about it. Because like I said, if it weren't for the internet, I would have never known. And I think that if lots more people knew, the number of asexuals, of open asexuals, of asexuals who are acknowledging the difference in sexuality would be much, much bigger. And it's sad that ignorance is what prevents us from being open. I'm going to check my YouTube every day now that I'm doing this video series, and I'm hoping that I'll do once a week videos, maybe once every other week, depending on how my schedule gets, because I know when I go back to school I'll be working 3 jobs. So, hopefully be working 3 jobs. I've got 3 interviews lined up, or 6 interviews lined up, and I hope to at least score 3 of them. But, yeah, I will answer every email and comment I get, because I hope to help someone. Next week, I will talk about the different kinds of asexual relationships, because that seems to be something that most people don't really like to talk about. Asexual elitists like to say that you can't be in a sexual relationship and be asexual at the same time. So I want to talk about the different kinds of relationships that asexuals can have. Bye.